Jake had been walking around in a state park near his home when he stumbled upon a secluded tree bearing what looked like an enormous beehive. It was something unlike he had ever seen before, and he had been to this nature preserve an awful lot. Unsure of what it was exactly, he notified the park ranger. However, when the ranger arrived, his eyes widened, his voice stammering as he muttered, "What is that sound?" But before we start, smash the like button, subscribe, and ring the notifications bell so you never miss our upcoming stories. Jake had been going to this nature reserve for a long time. The convenience of it being only a mile away from his home was a big bonus. He would often take a long hike, nearly weekly. It was like a treat for both himself and his trusted four-legged friend to just take a long, relaxing walk. His knowledge of the park had been what had stopped him in the first place. Due to his frequent visits, he almost knew the park inside and out, so the strange thing hanging atop a tree had set the warning bells ringing in his head. Jake's dog Bella had been whining at the monstrosity of a beehive. Jake wasn't even sure if it actually was a beehive or if it could be something else. He could hear a slight buzzing coming from it as he stood underneath it, but there was no bug in sight. Normally with beehives, he would see multiple bees coming and going from the hive, but this one only made a slight buzzing noise. Jake knew that this couldn't be good, but he knew exactly who to call to take care of it. He walked out of the reach of the hive. This way Bella also became calmer, which had been just what Jake needed. His worry for both the hive was only heightened due to Bella's behavior. Did the dog sense something that he hadn't seen? Bella would often bark when it concerned his safety, but never before to animals or bugs. Something strange must be going on. Jake grabbed his phone, ensuring that Bella stayed close to him as he made the call. He was lucky to know this state park's head ranger personally. Jake contacts his old high school friend Rylan, now a park ranger, using a direct number that allows him to bypass the usual visitor line. Although they used to be close, Jake knows Rylan might still remember the old pranks he used to pull, like the time he hid something creepy under Rylan's house, so he braces for skepticism. After a brief conversation where Jake assures him this is serious, not a joke, Rylan agrees to meet him. Jake is at the lone tree in the state park, a familiar landmark to both of them. His dog, Bella, remains agitated, reacting strongly to the strange object lodged in the tree, a massive, unnatural-looking hive that seems to pulse with an eerie buzzing sound. Rylan arrives quickly in his ranger vehicle, immediately serious and focused. Without even acknowledging Jake, Rylan heads straight for the hive. The closer he gets, the more the strange buzzing intensifies, sending Bella into a frenzy. When Jake touches Rylan to try to ground him, Rylan recoils sharply, his body tense and his expression full of alarm. It's clear that Rylan recognizes something about the hive or its effects, but he says nothing. Instead, he urges Jake to move away from it with him. Once away from the tree, the oppressive buzzing diminishes, and Bella bolts for the safety of the car. Jake, overwhelmed with questions and unease, demands answers, but Rylan only offers a tight-lipped promise to explain everything once they get to headquarters. As they drive off, the silence between them is filled with tension, leaving Jake to wonder what they had stumbled upon and why Rylan seemed so afraid. Rylan's car sped through the winding roads of the park, his grip tight on the steering wheel, eyes fixed ahead with an intensity that Jake had never seen before. Jake sat beside him, a whirlwind of questions swirling in his mind. Yet he remained silent. Understanding the gravity of the situation demanded patience. Bella, sensing the thick tension, lay quietly at Jake's feet. As they drove deeper into the park, a deafening silence hung over the landscape, the usual chirping of birds and rustling of wildlife eerily absent. This unnatural quietness, coupled with the sparse morning light filtering through the dense canopy, lent an almost ghostly aura to their journey. Pulling into the headquarters, they were greeted not by the usual bustling activity, but by a scene that resembled a crisis center. Rangers and staff moved about with urgent purpose, their faces etched with concern, speaking in tones just above a whisper. Inside a dimly lit conference room, Jake found himself among a group of serious-faced rangers and biologists, their eyes reflecting a mix of alarm and determination. They spoke in subdued tones, discussing the enigmatic situation with a gravity that made Jake's heart race with both anticipation and dread. Rylan, with a somber tone, disclosed that the bizarre hive Jake discovered was not an isolated incident. Similar structures had been found in other state parks, each associated with unexplained and mysterious occurrences. This revelation sent a ripple of shock through the room, as everyone grappled with the implications. As Rylan unfolded a map dotted with markers, he detailed a disturbing pattern emerging from other parks. Wildlife behaving erratically, plants growing in abnormal patterns and cycles. Each report seemed to weave a tapestry of ecological anomalies, all centered around these enigmatic hives. Ryland explained that the hives were far more than strange anomalies. They were actively influencing the environment around them. He described plants that were blooming wildly out of season, animals that moved with a disoriented, unnatural sluggishness, and an unsettling shift in the natural balance near each hive. Inside the room, tension thickened. Speculations spun rapidly. Ideas of environmental contamination, the emergence of a new and unknown species, or perhaps something far stranger. Each theory only deepened the unease, bringing a heavier weight of uncertainty and fear. Cutting through the murmured concerns, Ryland's urgency pressed against the growing storm of ideas. Understanding the hives, their origins, and their expanding influence had become an immediate priority. Delay risked allowing the unknown to spread even further. His words hung in the air, a call to arms that underscored the critical nature of their mission. Ryland, with a mix of frustration and determination, shared the progress of his ongoing investigation into the hives. He proposed a theory that these anomalies were linked to a larger environmental shift, a theory that suggested the hives were symptoms of a deeper, unseen ecological change. His theory, he explained, hinged on the possibility that these hives were a direct result of recent shifts in the environment, potentially linked to broader phenomena like climate change. This hypothesis, though still unproven, offered a daunting perspective on the interconnectedness of ecosystems and their susceptibility to change. Jake, reflecting on Bella's unusual behavior near the hive, mused aloud, "Could animals be sensing something we can't?" His question hung in the air, suggesting that the answer to this mystery might lie in understanding the instincts and reactions of the wildlife affected by these hives. Ryland spread out a collection of maps and photographs across the table, each marked with the locations of the hives. He pointed to the images, highlighting the striking similarities and subtle differences between each site, suggesting a pattern that was both revealing and enigmatic. Despite the array of data, Ryland acknowledged a sobering truth. They were still far from grasping the full nature and origin of these hives. This admission underscored the complexity of the puzzle they faced, a puzzle that seemed to grow more intricate with each new piece of information. In a moment of resolve, Jake stepped forward, volunteering to assist Ryland in a closer investigation of the hive. Together, they began to outline a discreet exploration mission, one that would take them directly to the heart of the mystery that had enveloped the park. As they prepared, discussions centered around the necessary equipment, protective gear, sampling tools, cameras, and the precautions needed to approach the hive safely. It was a venture into the unknown, and every detail was scrutinized to ensure their safety and the integrity of their mission. Ryland, recognizing the need for specialized knowledge, assembled a team for the expedition, an entomologist to study any insect activity, a botanist well-versed in local flora, and other experts in environmental science. Each member was carefully chosen for their expertise and their ability to navigate the unpredictable. The team gathered around a large map, their heads bent in concentration as they strategized how to approach the hive. The discussion was methodical, focusing on how to study the structure and its effects without causing any disturbance to the surrounding ecosystem. Amidst the planning, Jake felt a surge of determination. His long-standing connection to the park, a place of countless memories and peaceful solitudes, now drove him to understand and protect it. This mystery was personal, and he was resolutely committed to uncovering the truth behind the peculiar hives. Back at the site of the hive, the team, equipped with their expertise and tools, commenced a meticulous examination of its structure. They noted its size, shape, and peculiar texture that seemed unlike anything they had encountered in nature before, sparking more questions than answers. As they circled the strange formation, it became clear that this was no ordinary beehive. It lacked the buzzing activity of bees, and its surface seemed to shimmer subtly in the dappled sunlight, hinting at an organic composition that was both familiar and alien. Nearby, Bella's unease was palpable. She paced restlessly, whining softly, her behavior out of character and visibly affected by the hive's presence. Her instincts seemed to be in overdrive, as if she could sense something the humans could not, adding another layer of intrigue to the enigma. The team employed a range of technical equipment, from environmental sensors to spectral analyzers to examine the hive. Their goal was to decipher its composition and structure without causing any disturbance. Meanwhile, the botanist focused on the flora surrounding the hive, observing startling anomalies. Plants near the hive exhibited unusual growth patterns and signs of altered health, suggesting that the hive's influence extended beyond its immediate vicinity, affecting the very fabric of the ecosystem. With precision and care, the team began collecting a variety of samples, fragments of the hive, bits of the unusual pelt-like material, soil from beneath the tree, and leaves and twigs from the affected plants. Each sample was placed into sterile containers, meticulously labeled with details of its origin. This systematic approach ensured that once back at the headquarters, the analysis could proceed without confusion, allowing the team to trace each specimen back to its specific location and context. As they worked, the team couldn't help but notice the altered behavior in the local wildlife. Birds kept a noticeable distance, and small mammals seemed skittish and unnaturally timid. The more time they spent near the hive, the clearer the extent of its influence became. It was as if the hive was emanating an invisible field that altered the very essence of its surroundings, creating a zone where the normal rules of nature were subtly twisted. With their collection complete, the team carefully packed the samples for transportation. Each container was secured in specialized storage units designed to preserve its integrity, ensuring that the analysis back at the headquarters would be conducted on specimens unaffected by the journey. Back at headquarters, the team laid out the samples alongside those collected from other parks, initiating a comparative analysis. Amidst the array of samples, the team delved into searching for patterns or commonalities. They looked for any repetitive characteristics in composition, structure, or environmental impact that might shed light on why these hives were appearing across different parks. Ryland suggested cross-referencing their findings with historical environmental data of the parks. They pored over records of climate, flora, and fauna changes, seeking any correlation that might hint at the reasons behind the hive's sudden emergence in these specific ecosystem. Ryland reached out to rangers and ecologists from other affected parks. Through video conferences and data sharing, they pooled their observations and theories, creating a collaborative network of experts, united in solving this ecological mystery. Despite their efforts, the team found themselves wrestling with a complex puzzle. The data, rich and varied, seemed like pieces of a vast, intricate jigsaw that refused to fit together neatly, leaving the team with more questions than answers about the hive's true nature and origin. To gain a deeper understanding, the team organized consultations with renowned environmental scientists. These experts were briefed on the findings and asked to provide insights into the potential ecological implications, hoping their expertise would illuminate aspects of the phenomenon that had so far remained in the dark. The scientists debated how these structures might be symptomatic of larger changes in the ecosystem, possibly acting as natural responses to factors unseen or unmeasured by current scientific methods. Some suggested climate change as a driving force. Others speculated about the possibility of an invasive species or a previously unknown natural process. Each theory, while plausible, added layers of complexity to their understanding. Seeking further clarity, Ryland reached out to leading environmentalists and biologists, sharing detailed reports of their findings. He solicited their opinions, hoping their diverse backgrounds in ecology and biology would shed light on this unprecedented natural occurrence and guide their next steps. Through these discussions, Ryland's resolve only grew stronger. He recognized the critical importance of uncovering the truth behind these hives, not just for the scientific community, but for the future of the park itself. In a moment of breakthrough, the analysis revealed a startling fact. The hive was not a beehive at all, but rather a type of fungus. This fungus incredibly vibrated in response to external stimuli, particularly sound and body heat, which explained the mysterious buzzing noise that had puzzled everyone. Further study showed that this fungus had developed a unique symbiotic relationship with the bark of certain trees and remnants of animal life. It seemed to thrive in these specific environments, adapting in ways that were previously unknown to science, adding a new dimension to the team's understanding of this ecological enigma. This key piece of information provided the missing link in the chain of events observed across various state parks. The team realized that the similar fungal formations found in other parks were not isolated incidents, but part of a broader natural occurrence, possibly triggered by environmental factors common to these areas. Gradually, the team came to view these hives not as threats, but as extraordinary manifestations of nature's adaptability. They began to see them as a natural phenomenon, a unique and remarkable adaptation of the fungus to the changing conditions in their environments, a testament to the resilience and complexity of life on Earth. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and ring the notifications bell so you never miss amazing tales like this one.